League of Legends is back on Netflix with one of the best animated series, Arcane. And just like with the first season, this is going to be releasing in 3 weekly acts, with 3 episodes each. So will the battle between Jinx and Vi be resolved, or will it come to a bloody end? Jinx's attack on the Council sets the stage for a dire escalation of the conflict between Piltover and Zaun. Now, this picks up right where Season 1 left off, showing us the destructive aftermath of Jinx's attack, with not everybody surviving that onslaught. And in addition to the obvious peril and carnage, there are the relational dramas that are woven throughout the story, whether it's Vi and Caitlyn or Jinx and everybody. Now, in the first season, we were introduced to how dire and emotionally volatile the interactions can get. And for this season, at least with Act 1, there are tear-jerking moments as the characters struggle with reconciling the attack. But this is also where the storyline delves even deeper into the mystery and complexities of the strife that exists between the people. And since it has been a bit since Season 1 ended, I did go back and I watched the final episode just to reacquaint me with the characters and the storyline. I had forgotten how intense that last episode was, but I'm glad I caught myself back up. And because there is a long list of items from Netflix that I'm not allowed to talk about within Act 1, I want to focus on the animation. And while it is still phenomenal, it's like the animators have tripled down and then raised their own bar as to the quality and designs that they're employing. We have the rotoscope, semi-lifelike looking animation that was utilized in Season 1, and now we also get a huge mixture of hand-drawn 2D textures overlaid with sketch-like drawings and flashes of just a myriad of colors. It feels a lot like Across the Spider-Verse with all of the combos that are in play. And what really worked for me is when segments of certain story portions would be shown in a singular style, like for a flashback, giving us more hand-drawn imagery before returning to the present where everything is beautifully rotoscoped. Now, the action sequences are also spellbinding in how energetic and tense they can become. The story and voice acting, it certainly gives massive assists in the engagement, but strictly from a visual perspective, the way characters move and fight, it's fluid and beautiful, like this violent ballet full of gunfire and explosions. And even when the action subsides and we just get some quieter story-building moments, the scenes are enthralling, thanks to the massive level of detail that's contained in every portion of the imagery. When sifting through rubble, the dust and the broken buildings are textured to showcase the wreckage, giving us real depth to all the surfaces rather than just having the majority of a background one-dimensional and flat. And this makes the entire world more immersive and rich. And as I had mentioned, the voice acting continues to be dynamic as well as dramatic. Whether we're listening to Ella Purnell voice Jinx, Haley Steinfeld voice Vi, or Katie Leung as Caitlyn, each captures the emotional depth necessary to make their characters believable. And the emotions run high in this season. There's a lot of anger and then sadness that's expressed in these first 3 episodes. And because the voice actors are so engaging with their performances, the characters feel real, even if what we see of them tells us otherwise. And along the way in these episodes, there are some massive personality clashes that amp up the fury and the passion, leading to explosive interactions. And when these happen, they begin with an already tense mindset, and then they grow exponentially from there. Through each of these, we get to watch some awesome examples of what the Hex Tech can do. Now, I love seeing all the different weapon configurations that are dreamt up for our characters to employ. At one point, multiple characters are just battling it out, and the chaos hits a climax when this overpowered hammer, a triple chainsaw, and then some very huge battle bot type of enemies all collide. And before the 3 episodes conclude, we're also treated to this chaotic and devastating weapon that's engineered by Jinx. It's unhinged, unpredictable, and when it's being used, the driving rock soundtrack is blaring, just adding to the high energy emotion. I honestly didn't know what to expect during this battle, but I did know for certain that it was going to be epic and destructive, and it didn't fail to satisfy. Now, each of the episodes is meaty. Even though they're each only 40 minutes long, there is so much story content that's packed into them that it feels like they go on forever. And I don't say that as a bad thing in the slightest. I was fully invested in everything that was playing out, especially because it had been established that characters aren't necessarily safe. So when a fight broke out or some scheme was being planned, I could never be too sure of who's going to make it. I also had to exert some self-control personally and then limit myself to just the first 3 episodes. That way I can then binge the next 3 and let you know if it continues to improve or if the story feels like it's wavering. And while this is only the 2nd season, it's also the final season. So everything needs to wrap up by the end of Act 3. Because of the quality of the show overall so far, I am optimistic that they'll finish strong and bring us a worthy conclusion. But we are going to have to wait and see to be sure. So overall, for Act 1 of Season 2, Arcane continues to deliver top-tier phenomenal animation that is breathtakingly deep and awesomely executed. The varied styles add a ton of visual interest, which is then complemented by the rich storytelling and emotional voice acting. The characters come to life through intense emotion, which then catapults the mystery and intrigue of the story into extraordinary arcs filled with sadness, excitement, dilemmas, rage, and regret. Act 1 is off to an amazing start and sets the stage for a thrilling entry into Act 2. There's no sex or nudity, some profanity, and a ton of animated violence. Now, I'm going to hold off on giving this a rating until the season concludes, but if you enjoyed the first season or you're just into awesome animation, definitely put this one in your eyeballs as soon as you can. Alright, so who's your favorite character within the series? That's a toughie for me, but I would love to hear yours if you have one in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.